Welcome to Pottery Apocalypse. Let's make custom underglaze transfers with a Cricut machine and heat transfer vinyl. Making custom designs at home is the ultimate way to illustrate your pottery. Stay tuned for a bonus jelly print at the end. I'll make a separate video on how I make my own designs, but here I've just uploaded my designs into the Cricut Design Space, and I'm preparing them for printing. I'm choosing iron-on as my medium, and as soon as I do that, the Cricut is going to turn on mirror. I'm going to turn it right back off. For transfers, you will not want it unmirrored. So here I've got some heat transfer vinyl. Basically any kind will do. Cut it and place it on your mat shiny side down, which is a little counterintuitive. But the shiny side is actually a carrier that we're going to remove later. Once it finishes printing, just trim it up and weed it as usual, only you're weeding from the back side. Next, you'll need some silkscreen printing material. I'm using 110 mesh. It comes folded, just cut it into pieces to match your vinyl. For putting it all together, let's set our iron to medium. I found that a hot setting caused the glue to bleed onto the screen part. Let's make a sandwich with parchment paper on the bottom, your vinyl stencils shiny side down, then your screen material and another piece of parchment paper. Then I'm ironing it with the steam turned off in short 5-second bursts, just sort of up and down. Now flip it over and go ahead and remove that shiny carrier material. And if it won't come off cleanly, just iron it for a little bit longer and it should come off nice and easy. To finish the screen, trim off the excess material and go around the outside with some blue painter's tape. That will give the screen a little more firmness and make it easier to handle. Now these screens are ready to go for printing directly onto pottery or onto a Gelli Plate, but we're making transfers, so you'll need some transfer paper. I recommend the Sanbao paper. They do have an Etsy shop, but you can print onto rice paper, sewing pattern paper, or even newsprint. Grab some underglaze, and I'm using the Mayco Silkscreen Medium. It's inexpensive and quick acting, but you can also just leave your underglaze out until it thickens up. I just don't have that much patience. I have to make transfers when the spirit moves, and I'm never really sure when that's going to be. The important thing is that your underglaze will need to be very thick, really the consistency of peanut butter. If it's too thin, your transfers will bleed and you'll know immediately. A nice thick underglaze will make a beautiful, clean transfer. All right, let's screen print. So I've got my screen side up on top of my transfer paper, and I'm applying the underglaze to a rubber rib. Then I'm just gliding it across to pick up the excess. I have found that using a brush or your finger works pretty well too. You can see I'm sort of making one-off standalone transfers, but you might be making an entire design that wraps around a mug. So just adjust your process. Don't forget, this is a perfect way to make custom logos for the bottom of your pots. Here I'm just letting them dry out in the sun and they're ready to go. And meanwhile, I'm rinsing up my screens and they're ready for the next time. Disclaimer, underglaze contains clay, so protect your drains. And here's how I store my transfers for safekeeping. I've got a bisqued plate here, so I'm going to just wipe it down with a sponge. I've got water, a sponge, and some tweezers for applying my transfers. Here's the part of the video where I tell you this is not a video about applying transfers because I am not an expert in that. You're going to want to watch a different video on how to get good on applying transfers because that is not my best skill. We are just doing our very best here. I find applying any transfers to be a bit of a finicky and picky process that is really beyond my patience level. So instead, what I often do is clean up my transfers after the fact by using a nail brush and some extra underglaze, and also using a little tool to scrape off any problem areas. And you might say, wouldn't it be easier to just apply the transfer better? To which I reply, not for me, but that is a choice that you can make. I'm going to apply a bunch more transfers to this plate in sort of a tattoo style, and then I'll be decorating them with underglaze, with stroke and coats, in some cases with wax resist. And you can see that the transfer with the text on it came out the right side up, because we did not mirror it, but that does mean that if we wanted to apply that directly to pottery, the text would be backwards. So now you have no excuse not to have wonderful custom underglaze transfers for your pottery. Bonus round, let's make a jelly transfer. First, spread a little cornstarch on top of the jelly. Then place your stencils screen side up again and apply the underglaze in the same way you did for the transfers. Just be sure to clean up any extra underglaze that gets on the plate. Grab a piece of bisque, and then we're just going to end up rolling it onto this design, and boom. Thanks for joining me. Today was a good day. Nothing blew up, and our pottery was amazing.